Here's the real reason why you struggle with being charismatic, and it's not what you think. Welcome to With Karen D, the podcast, the place where we get real about one truth. Good things do not come to those who wait. Good things come to those who go out and get it. I'm Karen Donaldson, your host, neuroscience backed confidence, communication, peak performance, and body language coach, and the secret weapon behind many politicians, athletes, C suite executives, hosts that you see on TV around the globe. Today, we're going to get into a topic that people whisper about behind closed doors, but rarely talk about out loud, nor do they talk about it honestly. We're going to talk about why so many smart, talented, capable people struggle with being charismatic. And yes, I am going there. Here's why. It's because charisma is not something special people are born with. It's learned and it's trained. And it's absolutely rewired in the brain, which means it's available to you too. So let's go straight into this stuff. This is the stuff I love to speak about. I remember when I used to work with a health charity here in Toronto, and we received an email letting us know that a new staff member was coming aboard. And of course, everyone in the company was talking, and we were rereading the email and looking at their background, and they had a whole bunch of degrees. And I think our CEO had shared that they were well traveled and blah, 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 blah. So, of course, the expectations were super high for this person. So here we go. It was time for the weekly meeting, and this new individual was introduced to us. So when they took the floor, here's what happened. Nothing. Everyone had these high expectations of this worldly person who they had pumped up online, and we were waiting for a little bit of personality to come through. And that's just me being honest. And I felt so bad for them because people around the room were, elbowing each other and had these suspect faces on. And I know it's not just me. Let's be honest. We've all been in rooms where we know who's either coming on stage or speaking, and we expect so much more, but it seems like they're just not charismatic, right? And I knew based on what I read that this person was highly intelligent, highly qualified. However, it didn't translate into their presence. It felt like they disappeared as soon as they took the front of the room. They disappeared. You don't even know they were there. So I want to get into being real about charisma because it is so misunderstood, and a lot of people are carrying this unnecessary shame around it. They're watching people around them and wishing they could show up like that, and dismissing it and walking away because they believe that they never can. And here's the truth. Most people don't struggle with charisma because they're boring. They struggle because in high pressure moments and situations, they start thinking on overdrive instead of feeling. And yes, of course, you need to think, but just stay with me here for a moment. They start to overthink what to say. Then they underexpress what they're actually feeling. And they disconnect from themselves so they can get it right, like all in the name of getting it right and getting it perfect. And if that's you, let me say this clearly. There is nothing wrong with you at all. That response is protection. That response is truly conditioning. It's your nervous system trying to keep you safe. That's what's happening. And I see this all the time with clients that are freaking brilliant that I work with. And just, it doesn't matter who they are, just people I meet. And I'm thinking of one client in particular. Let me tell you this story. She is super smart, highly respected in her field. And whenever it came to presentations and meetings, she was overly prepared every single time, super prepared. You could never catch her off guard. And on paper, she was flawless. But in meetings, things were just a mess. So she shared these things with me. She said, Karen, when I go into meetings, when I'm leading meetings, I feel invisible. People talk over me. And she felt like her ideas really didn't hit, like really didn't land the way she knew they should. Now, when we worked together and we slowed things down, we realized, and I pointed out that it wasn't that she didn't know what to say. It was that the moment the pressure hit, everyone's eyes on her, the poker faces or the lack of expression, her body went into self protection. That's what was happening. Her entire body tightened up. She became tense. Her breath would become shallow and in her chest right here. Then her voice would flatten and she'd become monotone when in truth she wasn't. And without realizing it, she'd pull back her energy. She'd pull back who she really was so she didn't have to be judged. Nothing was wrong with her content. Nothing. Zero was wrong. 0% was wrong with her content. She just truly disconnected from herself and started to perform. And that's the part that no one tells you. That's the part that no one wants to talk about. People do not connect to perfection. They connect to presence. They connect to your real presence. Perfections, imperfections, and all. Now, listen, you don't see me standing up here, but I'm about 5'6" with heels on, right? And I wear heels everywhere I go. Let me tell you why. I work with a lot of men who are definitely always taller than me. And when I don't wear heels, I'm literally at their armpits. So I'm not about that life anymore. So I'm always wearing heels to give myself a little bit of height. So you can call it short lady syndrome. I don't give a crap. I will always wear super high heels all the time. But let me get back to the story. I remember this was a few years into me speaking on stages. So like 18 plus years ago. I went to a speaking engagement and I was a keynote speaker and I wore a brand new pair of heels and they look so cute. You buy a nice pair of shoes and they look so good, but you walk in them for about 45 minutes or from the car to wherever you're going and you realize that it was a mistake. They were those shoes. So went on stage and I'm that type of person when I'm doing a keynote or delivering a talk, I use all the space. So I'm walking all about and as I'm walking about, I feel my feet burning me. And all I could think of is, Karen, you have to get through this. Karen, stay professional. Karen, stay professional. Now, let me tell you what really happened. In that moment where my feet were literally on fire, I paused and I told the audience this. I said, hey, everyone, I just need to be honest with you. I have these brand new shoes on and they're cute, right? And everyone laughed. And I let them know that in this moment, these brand new shoes are burning my feet. And I asked the audience, has anyone ever had that happen? And I said, okay, listen, I need the men and women to put up their hands. Have you ever bought a new pair of shoes that looks so good in the box? And when you wore them, you knew it was a big mistake. Please raise your hand. And I promise you, almost everyone in the entire audience raised their hand. And they started to laugh. So I told them that, listen, they hurt. I'm going to take off my shoes. I'm going to put my shoes right in the front. So I put it in the front of the stage so they could see it. And I completed the rest of my keynote in bare feet because I had to show up like myself and I had to do what was best for me in the moment. And that was one of the best keynotes that I've ever delivered to date. That was one of the best keynotes where I got feedback, not only on the value that I shared, but how comfortable I was with myself to literally do that. And here's the thing. Charisma is not about being loud. It's not about being extroverted. And it's definitely not about being the biggest personality in the room, although that's what so many people think. Some of the most charismatic people that I know or I've worked with as well are quiet. They're measured and they're so grounded in themselves. True charisma is your ability to make people feel something when you speak. I'm going to say it again. True charisma is the ability to make people feel something when you speak. It's about creating that sense of human connection. It's about creating that sense of safety. It's that creating that resonance. It's creating that clarity. It's creating your own presence. What people want from you, no matter what you think, is this. They want you comfortable in your own skin. not performing like someone else that you admire. They don't want someone else. People don't remember your exact words. They remember how you made them feel. They remember how your energy landed in their personal body. And here's a part most people don't hear enough. You're not lacking charisma. You're lacking access to your true energy. And I get it. I so get it. Fear gets in the way sometimes, and you don't want to stand out. And when you don't want to stand out, that whole self-protection side of you kicks in. And your old conditioning tells you to hold back, hold on, don't do that. Don't be yourself. It says, play safe. It says, don't say too much. Don't take up too much space. And we go back into those old habits and we tighten up. We don't want to rock the boat. And then we start to perform instead of connecting with other humans, not people, connecting with other humans. And when that happens, people no longer feel you. They can't feel you. And it's not because you're not interesting. It's because you're not fully yourself. And they see it and they feel it. You see, charisma lives in regulation, like self-regulation, the release of performing. Charisma lives in presence. Charisma lives in giving yourself permission to show up as yourself. It's what happens when your body feels safe enough to express what your mind already knows. And this is why charisma isn't something you have or you don't have. It's something that you get to unlock should you choose to put in the work. So I'm trying to tell you, you can shift and become charisma if you make the decision to. Don't believe that it's some lifelong sentence or that, my brother, my sister, my aunt's more charismatic and I'm not the charismatic one No, stop it. That's a choice you've made and you're sticking with, right? When you learn how to stay grounded under pressure, when you stop abandoning yourself so you can sound perfect and polished, when you let yourself be felt instead of perfectly phrased and everything you say is concise and clear, that's when people lean in. That's when your words hit. That's when your words land with people. That's when your words resonate with people. That's when your presence speaks before you do. Have you ever been in a space, whether social or professional, and someone enters the room and you just have to turn your head and you don't know why, and you're like, shoot, who is that? Because their presence, even though they haven't said a word, their presence is just so confident and powerful. That's what I want you to remember. Charisma isn't about becoming someone else. It's about coming home to yourself and letting that version of you, perfections, imperfections, all that version of you, lead the way. Completely lead the way. That's what charisma really is. Now, I'm a science geek, so here's a neuroscience of that truth behind why you feel flat sometimes or why you feel invisible. And some people call it that, Karen, I go into rooms and I just feel invisible. When your nervous system is dysregulated, so what I mean by that is when you're feeling anxious, unsure, guarded, or you feel like you're in performance mode, your brain goes into survival patterns. So for many people, that means you speak faster. Your body just clenches up, tightens up. Your gestures become small or non-existent at all. For some people, they lose their vocal variety, and that's when they start to speak monotone. And their facial expressions disappear altogether. They're just rushing to get through with it. Then you stop connecting. People then default to safe instead of real. That's what happens. And the part of your brain responsible for emotional expression and connection, it's called the limbic system, it shuts down. Meanwhile, your prefrontal cortex goes into overdrive, trying to get it right, get it perfect, not make any mistakes. Then, ta-da, here's a result. Your realness, the real you, your true self gets blocked. Your energy gets muted. your charisma becomes like non-existent, inconsistent, or you just, for some people, they just can't access it at all. There's a rush to be complete and done. So it's not that you aren't charismatic. You just can't access it when the pressure hits, right? The other thing that people don't recognize is that there are hidden habits that make you less charismatic. Hidden habits that some of us may be doing. There's some real habits that are getting in your way. And yes, as I list them, you're probably going to see yourself in at least one or two of these. So let's talk about those hidden habits. Number one, you're too focused on being liked. When you try to be agreeable with everyone, you shrink because it's just not possible. Real charisma requires conviction, not perfection. Stand by what you believe is true. Number two, you're overly polished instead of powerfully present. Scripted energy is dead energy. Real charisma lives in you being real, authenticity. I know that's an overused word, but I have to use it here. Real charisma lives in authenticity, not rehearsed performance. I want you to leave in the mistakes. And I'm sure if you have watched some of my other podcast episodes, and here's my plug, make sure to watch my podcast episodes. They're freaking just full of gems to help you, to remind me, and to just share what you can do to grow. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, if you watch some of the episodes, you'll see that many of them, I am making mistakes. I may be speaking fast at some times. I may stutter or mumble. And I'm here to tell you, sorry, not sorry. You are going to get the real Karen D, mistakes and all, because I'm okay with it. Another habit, you think faster than you speak. When your internal speed outruns your voice, people feel that disconnect. Charismatic people take their time because there is no rush. Another habit, you minimize your presence to avoid judgment. Small energy creates small impact. Real charisma requires you to own your space unapologetically. And that doesn't mean you have to know everything. That doesn't mean that you have to have all the answers. Sometimes it means saying, you know what? I don't have the answer for that. Does anyone here know how we can manage? Like, we don't have to always be the person with the answers and always be right. Real charisma requires owning your space unapologetically. Another habit, you communicate for approval, not connection. You see, real charisma isn't about saying the right thing. It's about saying the real thing. I'm going to say that again. Real charisma isn't about saying the right thing. It's about saying the real thing. What would you say? Not what do you think that person over there would say or what your boss would say. What would you say? Stand in who you truly are. So I know what you're asking. You're saying, okay, Karen, I got this. But how do I become more charismatic right now? So let's jump into that. There's two parts to it. The first is choosing and owning your self-belief. And the second one comes down to neuroscience, but we'll get there in a moment. First, let's talk about self-belief. What do you choose to believe about yourself? That's a question I want you to consider. Do you like yourself? Are you okay with your perfections and imperfections and your quirks, those weird things that you do? You see, a belief is simply a thought that you keep thinking. That's it. So my question to you is, what do you consistently think about yourself? Because that will fuel how you show up, the actions you take, or the actions you don't take. Having a strong self-belief is knowing that not everyone will like you. And that's okay, because it's 100% about liking yourself. You know, I've been doing media, mainstream media for years now as a guest expert for networks like NBC, ABC, Fox, City TV, Breakfast Television, Tamron Hall Show, just various networks worldwide. And I always, after I do something, someone sees me on a segment, I always get DMs. And some people are saying, Karen, I love your jewelry, right? And then I also have some people jumping in my DM and saying, I love what you shared, but that jewelry, it's just distracting and it's too big and it's so unprofessional. I have the yin and the yang. And I want to tell you this, I'm okay with who I am. I know that I love chunky jewelry and I will forever wear it because it's what I choose for me. And at the same time, no one has to like it. And I'm okay with people sharing their opinion. I simply need to stand strong and know that I like it. When you can start to live this truth, and this is one of the truths that I learned at a very young age when I was a young mom and I found out that I was pregnant in high school and I lost all my friends, this is what I had to be grounded in. Words and actions of others do not define you unless you allow them to. Got it? So when you can start believing that, you will no longer lean into and prioritize other people's opinions of you. Your self-belief is yours. It's just that most people don't take the time to pause and really decide and find out and inquire where their self-belief came from. My question to you is it even yours? Now let's get to the neuroscience side of things, my geeky side, when it comes to becoming and being more charismatic. Now, you don't need a bigger personality. That's what I want to tell you. You need better access to your true personality, not the one that's been formed through years of school and academia and your culture and your church and society, your true personality. Charisma grows through nervous system safety, emotional clarity, and intentional communication patterns. Here are 3 things that will change everything for you. There are 3 different, I call them resets or shifts. Reset number 1, regulate your nervous system, then speak. You can't be charismatic when your brain thinks that you're in danger. So your first job is to create physiological safety. And this is exactly what I teach my clients when they have to, walk down the red carpet and do mini interviews and potentially answer questions that they don't want to. So they're fine when it comes to filming a movie, being behind the camera and being on set with a lot of people. But when it comes to walking down the red carpet, they don't want to do that. So they have to calm their nervous system. So here are some tips that I want to share with you as well. Before speaking, I want you to slow your breath. Inhale through your nose and a longer exhale through your mouth or nose, longer than your inhale. I want you to drop your shoulders. This is exactly what I teach them. And no one needs to know you're doing it. Then I need you to plant your feet on the ground right underneath your hips, no matter if you're standing up or if you're sitting down. Then I want you to release the jaw because most of us hold tension in the jaw and we don't realize that when we're uncomfortable, we clench our jaws. So release the jaw. And then I want you to focus your eyes on one spot. Just find one thing. Just stop roaming. Focus your eyes on one thing. Because what happens is this reopens part of your brain, the part of the brain responsible for presence, warmth, and influence. Your charisma lives in you. It lives in your calm nature. Shift number 2 or reset number 2, speak with emotional leadership. People don't truly remember all of the information that you share, but they remember your energy. They remember your tone, and they definitely remember how you made them feel. So I want you to try this. When you're speaking, bring warmth into your voice by lowering your tone. I also want you to add intentional pauses. And I want you to allow your personality to come through and show real expressions. So if you're saying something happy or joyful, smile with it. I want you to use slower and grounded gestures instead of big and erratic ones. The other one, huge, make eye contact and let people see your conviction. Charisma is emotional and intentional. It's delivered with clarity and control. And the reason I want to pause with the eye contact is I remember when I was going to school, they taught us to, look at person in between their eyes, look at their nose, look at the top of their head. And I'm here to tell you that that does not work. Look at people as a person, like as people, as a human being. Because when you look at their nose, when you look in between their eye, when you look at the top of their forehead, when you look over their head, that's what it looks like. It looks like you're looking at my nose, and I become self-conscious because I'm like, what's wrong with my face? That I'm not even listening to you. Make eye contact and let people see your passion right behind it, right? Shift number 3, communicate with an intention of connecting, not impressing. I'll say it again. Communicate with an intention of connecting, not trying to impress people. People are so over that. People want to know that you are just like me. You're imperfect just like me. Stuff happens to you too. And when people can see, hear, and feel that resonance, that's when they'll truly tune in. When you stop performing and trying to be perfect and start being real, 2 things happen. 1, people feel you. 2, people trust you. Charisma is simply the skill of being truly or authentically expressive in a way that draws people in, that resonates with people. And yes, it's a skill. And yes, it's a skill you can train. And yes, your brain can rewire so you can become more charismatic in spaces, in different settings. These are the steps, skills, techniques that I train world leaders, politicians, and high performers every day. And I'm here to remind you that you are that high performer if you choose to be. These are techniques and strategies that you can acquire should you decide to. The truth you need to hear is this: you don't struggle with charisma because you don't have it. We have been socialized to believe that we are either born with it or we're not. When the truth is, you struggle because no one has ever taught you how to, 1, regulate your nervous system. 2, how to access your natural expression so you can communicate with emotional authority. I mean, truly own your presence and stop performing for approval. And we've all been there, including myself. I remember when I started speaking on stages, and before I went on stage, there was always some type of meet and greet. And I thought I had to, act like everyone else. And it was literally just a few years into it. And I said, well, you know what, Karen, they invited you here for a reason, and they just want the real you. And I don't have to like what they like. I don't have to, drink wine with them. I hated wine. Like, I didn't have to pretend. I was fine with sparkling water. Drink your sparkling water and own it. I mean, truly own your presence and stop performing for approval. And it takes work. But if you've ever said, I'm not charismatic, what you really mean is this: I do not know how to unlock my charisma. And my friends, now you know exactly how to fix it. Replay this video, pause it, take action. Now, if this episode hit home for you, yes, and good, because that's exactly the kind of work we'll keep doing here on With Karen D, the podcast. Real, practical, neuroscience-backed strategies to help everyone, the listeners, people you may know. So I'm saying, please subscribe. Please share with someone who needs to hear this. But we're here to share these science-backed strategies to help you communicate with more authority, really lead yourself with more confidence. And I'm not here to say or show that you're not confident enough, but we all have gaps in our confidence. Me too. But if we decide to put in the work, we can shift that. My podcast is about helping you perform at a higher level, no matter where you are or no matter who's in the room. As I get ready to close out, I want you to remember this one powerful thing. Good things do not come to those who wait. Good things come to those who go out and get it. My friend, your level up starts now.